Alrighty, so the live stream was this morning, and I left work early a little bit today, but we have the new Slime Part 3 update, which is pretty interesting. This is the first time that we're ever getting a third rerun of a collab, which is pretty cool. So Slime was obviously the first collab that we ever had, so the fact that they're coming out with a third one is actually kind of big news, considering that prior to now, we've never had a third rerun. Or I guess it would technically be a second rerun, but that means that there's potential for other reruns for other collabs. So that way, you know, in the past, it's always been kind of like on the fence of, hey, should you summon for these characters? Because you never know if they're going to come back or not. And we still don't really know for sure 100%, but this is a really good sign that they could potentially bring other collabs back for more characters, which is cool. And obviously more chances to get old characters. So the first thing you can see right here, hopefully, I don't know where my webcam is during this, but you can see we have the two new characters, which I don't know what she's called necessarily. It looks like from Kane's translations, it's Sign of the Strongest Milim Nava, or in the dub they call her Milim. But obviously new Milim, which is kind of cool. I think that she looks kind of cool. She flies, she's got wings, and she's got a huge sword, which I'm a big fan of, so that's cool. And then we have Xion, which I know a lot of people wanted in the last collab that they did, but they ended up doing Shuna instead. So we finally get Xion. She looks cool. Unfortunately, I'll break the news to you now. If you haven't seen, she's a PvE unit. So if you were like all ready and hyped up and you're not a big fan of PvE units, I'll let you down easy now, but I don't really care where she is. PvE units in the past for collabs have actually been really, really good. Cocytus gets a lot of use. Viol gets a lot of use. There's really good use cases for a lot of the PvE collab characters that they come out with, so I'm hoping Xion is still good too, and maybe you'll get some decent use out of her. On the other hand, you'll notice that Milim and the old Demon Lord Rimuru from the Part 2 collab are now able to be LR'd, which is very, very interesting. So we obviously have the two new characters, and then we have Milim and Demon Lord Rimuru as LRs now, and then you can see we're actually getting these new Dimension Seals instead of just regular Legendary Seals. These are the ones that you're going to use for collab characters, which is nice because now you're not going to have to worry about using LR Seals for collab characters if you didn't have them already, or whatever the case may be. So it looks like the way that you're going to be getting these, we'll scroll through a little bit here just in case. You get 20 of them per mission from the special missions. You're also going to get one free multi, so you'll get 100 of them total, which is enough to LR one of the characters. And then there is also an event boss as well, and then on your 6th run of the event boss, or I guess it's clears, which is not too bad because that's not very far in, which is really, really nice. You'll get the other 100, which means you're obviously going to be able to LR both of the characters pretty easily. So there are a lot of like returning events and stuff like that from the previous Slime collabs, which is fine. And then there is a new Labyrinth as well with some new features also. So yeah, there's the LR seals. Obviously, to LR a character in general, it does take 3 or 6 of the UR pendants, and it takes 3 of these. I think these are technically like Super Awakened books, and obviously because Rimuru is green, you're needing 3 of those, so Milim is red, you're going to need 3 of those for her. So if you don't have these already made, go ahead and try to make those. If you don't have them, obviously just build up towards them. I don't think that there's going to be any limit on it. I assume that the new Dimension Seals are probably just going to disappear before a new collab comes out, just like with the Holy Relic boxes that they do for collabs. That would make the most sense to me. I'm not 100% positive on that, so if you know, let me know. But yeah, I assume that you're going to have time to power these characters up before the next collab comes out, hopefully. So Xion, her ultimate animation, really quickly, and then we'll try to go over the character. I'll pull Kane's translations over here, and I guess I technically need to go over the changes for Demon Lord Rimuru as well, but yeah, you can see her ultimate. Kind of cool. Nothing crazy, honestly. Like, not the flashiest I've ever seen. Milim's is way cooler, in my personal opinion. But really quickly, let's go over Milim and Rimuru very quickly. So the changes to Demon Lord Rimuru are the passive Silent Wrath. At the start of the ally's turn, increases the unit's base stats by 8% and remove 1 stack of buffs applied to enemies, so just like it used to be, but now for every buff removed, increases base stats by 8%, and when it reaches max stacks, apply buff that increases the pierce rate, yeah, increases pierce rate by 140% for 3 turns. So that's technically the same, but now you're going to be getting basic stat increase for each debuff or each buff removed, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think that was part of it beforehand. So it still stacks a max of 8, or sorry, 5. So you'll technically get 80 basic stats, right? I think. Math hard. Anyway, is that right? I don't know if that's right. I think that's right. I think it's 40%. Anyways, his AoE card, which was an Infect, now has Flood on it, which is kind of insane. I'll be honest. That thing used to hit kind of hard, and now it's definitely going to hit kind of hard. And I'm pretty sure that they've done some stat increases to all of the characters, and I think there may have even been some buffs to passives and Holy Relics for the older characters. I'm not going to go over those because they didn't get translated, and I'll just look at them whenever the global patch notes come out, and I'm sure you can too. But Xion is the first character that we're going to go over. So passive is #1 Secretary. At the start of the battle in PvE, applies Super Regeneration and Power of War God for every ally in the battlefield. Increases the unit's base stats by 5% and decreases allies' damage taken by 7%. If allies use single target attacking skills, increases the unit's attack-related stats by 5%, max of 25%, and if it's used more than 3 times in 1 turn, apply buff that increases critical chance by 30% and critical damage by 50% for 2 turns. Okay, so that's actually really good. That sounds great. Super Regeneration, which is the first buff that you get, is for 1% of decreased HP to the unit at the start of the ally's turn. Allies regenerates with regeneration rate increased by 2% and stacks regenerated HP up to 100,000. I'm not 100% sure how good that is. It sounds like it could be really good. It sounds like it's going to add a lot of like survivability to your team. Obviously PvE only, so it's not like crazy for everything, but sounds kind of cool. Power of the War God at the start of the ally's turn increases attack by 10% from the value stacked from Super Regeneration effect. Increases attack by 10%. Okay. I mean, so at max it would be like 10,000 attack. 10,000 attack? That sounds... I don't know if that's really high or not, but I'm not a stats guy, obviously, but that sounds really good. Skill 1 is Ogre Sword Guillotine, which is an Amplify skill, single target, and then Ogre Sword Cannon, which is also a single target Power Strike card. Okay, so those are probably going to hit pretty hard. Ultimate is Maximum Mana Bullet, applies buff that increases basic stats by 50% and inflicts damage equal to 735% of attack. Okay, so that's a pretty like generic ult. I think that's the same as like Assault Mode Meliodas, if I'm not mistaken. Her Holy Relic is Flex Starved Greatsword, which actually looks really cool in game. I'll try to show that really quickly in a second. In PvE, if allies use more than 3 single target attack skills in 1 turn, removes 2 debuff effects applied to allies. Okay, so that's actually kind of cool. We'll go over Milim in just a second. I think right here a little bit later in, you get to see some of the costumes and stuff, but I want to show off her Holy Relic. So they go over like the couple of the different swords and everything, and then they scroll over to the Holy Relic tab here, and her Holy Relic looks insane. Like the amount of like work and detail that they put into some of this stuff actually looks really good. And it feels like all of a sudden with the Percival update, they kind of like ramped up production on the game for whatever reason. So I felt like Percival was really good. And then all of a sudden with Estarossa being a seasonal unit, they made him like a lot more interesting as a seasonal than prior seasonal characters. So that's been kind of cool. Next up we have the new Milim. And like I said, I like the way that she looks. She's definitely a little bit of a lolly. Not a big fan of that personally, but character design-wise, I think that she looks cool. And she has a really cool Egyptian outfit. Love Egyptian stuff, so that's definitely going to be the one that I'm probably going to be using. I also realize now that this video is going to be extremely long, so maybe not like crazy long, but definitely pretty long. So just as a preview here, that's what her Holy Relic looks like. Big, gaudy, and bright, surprisingly. And then they put the white armor on her, which looks pretty good overall, I think. Let's go over her skills really quickly. I think, if I'm not mistaken, good God, she's going to be broken. Like, she's going to be the one that you're trying to go for, I think. This is going to be a lot, so if you need to skip ahead, by all means. Sign of the Strongest Milim Nava. Power in another level is the passive. At the start of the battle, apply 2 stacks of Dragon Might and apply protection of the dragon for 3 turns. For every Dragon Might applied to the unit, increases allies' defense-related stats by 20%. And if allies use a skill or the unit gets damaged by enemies' skill usage in the enemy's turn, remove 1 stack of Dragon's Might. Also, every time Dragon's Might is removed from the unit, increases the unit's all stats by 7%, max of 28%. So that's 4 stacks. If all Dragon Might is removed, apply Dragon's Fury for 3 turns, and if Dragon's Fury gets removed, apply 2 stacks of Dragon's Might again. Okay, so it's like a recycling passive. Protection of the Dragon, which is the second buff, decreases damage taken from all enemy attacking skills by 40%, and the unit gets stack decreasing debuffs. Stack decreasing debuffs. What does that mean? Dragon's Might, which are the regular stacks, are when all stacks are removed, apply Dragon's Fury. Okay, so they don't do anything? Okay. That's fine. I mean, she already sounds like she's really good in general, and when they get removed, she gains all stats, so, okay. Which you start with 2. So it would technically be 2 rotations of this passive before you max out your all stats from it, so that's kind of interesting. Dragon's Fury, which is what you get when all of them are removed, is plus 40% attack-related stats, ignores 100% of critical resistance, and deals additional damage equal to 40% of final damage when using all enemy attacking skills. Excludes ultimates. My god. Okay, so that is, sounds good. Holy Relic is Gningagap's cosmic sword, sorry, not cosmetic sword, which is when using a skill, deals damage with attribute advantage regardless of attribute. So that's actually kind of interesting. She's a red character, so she's just always going to have attribute advantage, which is kind of cool. And then skill 1 is Heavenly Demon Slash, which is inflict annihilate damage to a single enemy, and that is ×3 pierce rate and ignores enemy's defense. And for every Dragon Might applied to the unit, increases critical chance by 50% and damage dealing by 30%. My god. Tyrant's Roar is the second ability, which is inflict storm damage to all enemies. Storm damage is ×2 critical damage and ignore enemy resistance. And for every Dragon's Might applied to the unit, increases damage by 50%. I've seen a little bit of the PvP that they showed off. It's insane. Her ultimate is very long, by the way. Drago Nova. Removes all stacks of Dragon's Might and applies Dragon's Fury for 3 turns to the unit and inflicts storm damage equal to 525% of attack on all enemies. When the unit is participating in battle, if an ally dies in the enemy's turn by enemy skill usage or enemy dies by the unit skill usage, for every unit dead, apply Dragon Rampage for 3 turns up to 6 stacks. So I'm pretty sure this is like an ultimate passive. Dragon Rampage, which is the buff that you get from that, is increased damage of single target attack skills single target skill by 50% and deals additional damage by 100% of enemies' increased HP, unstackable. So I guess it's designed to help kill Gelda, or just like increasing HP units, which, okay. Damage received from enemies by enemy turn, or by enemy's turn, gets fixed to 1, and every time the unit uses a skill or gets damaged by enemies from enemy turn, removes 1 stack of the buff. Good lord. I'll be honest, a lot of that's going over my head. I'm gonna have to just use the unit and probably have somebody else explain that to me. Just being honest with you, because that's a lot to take in, but you can see from the little chart that they put out here, it seems like her ultimate scales quite a bit, so I think that she's going to be one that you're looking for dupes for. Obviously, with Xion being a PvE character, it's kind of a no-brainer that you'd want to get the newest character more dupes. So, seems pretty interesting overall. Here's what the banner looks like, by the way. 0.5% chance to get the 2 new characters, and then you have the 5 older characters, excluding the Slime SR Rimuru, because I'm pretty sure he's just an SR, he doesn't show up in this list. But there's also some decent characters in here as well. You can get the LR Liz, which is really nice. Nanashi's good if you obviously are new and you don't have him, but he's just a good character for unknowns in general. And then a couple of Demonic Beast units, which is great for people who don't have those units. And then 2 Hawken Oslos and the Blue Liz, which those aren't great characters, let's be honest. But there's a lot of potential to pull collab characters, which means you're going to get coins, which means you can trade them for other collab character dupes if you need them. So Lots of potential there. Once you get to the 600 mark, you get to choose any of the 7 characters on the list there, and then there is obviously a ticket that you can buy. I'm pretty sure it ends up being around 25-ish US dollars. Not sure what that is in your currency if it's different, but it's a 25% chance to get either of these characters, and then a 10% chance to get the older characters. So they did rate up the new ones, which is actually kind of nice that they did that. So I can't remember if there's anything else really quickly in the patch notes that I wanted to go over. They are adding a difficulty level to the labyrinths now. So you start at level 1, and then as you progress, the labyrinth gets harder, which sounds kind of cool to me. I like labyrinth quite a bit, so that sounds fun. They're also adding a new Escanor outfit, so if you're like me and you bought the one from the Halloween update, you didn't need that. They were giving you one for free, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Here's the outfits for Milim. Here are the outfits for Shion, and then they're adding one new costume for Demon Lord Rimuru and Shuna, so that's what they look like. And then the old outfits for them are returning. And then here are the additional outfits that they added for the old characters. So this is the old blue Rimuru, the old Milim, and then Benimaru as well. Diamond Payback event is here. You can use these collab characters for your login characters if you want to during the event period. King Exchange event, which I guess is now going to be Percival Exchange event. I don't know because he's on the little thing now. A couple of boosting events. There is a new Hawk Pass, and we're getting a baby. He's got a pacifier. He's a baby Percival outfit, which is whatever, I guess, but he is technically missing some cosmetics, or maybe just one, I don't remember. So that'll be nice, I guess. I'll go ahead and grab that. I don't know if I'll be getting that whole set because I don't want him to look like a child, but it is what it is. There's a couple of interesting additions to the update as well. So for event bosses, they're adding a way to scale the boss up and make him more difficult. So that way you get more rewards per run, which is actually kind of cool for players like me who are really late game, and I find a lot of the event bosses to be kind of tedious and just like annoying to fight. They're not hard, they're just like, okay, I gotta fight this 5 times so that way I can get to the exchange shop kind of thing. Now I'll be able to increase the difficulty on them if I want to and get more rewards for doing so, which is actually kind of a cool idea. I like that. I'm interested to try that out. They're increasing the amount of XP you get from XP potions now, which is good, honestly, because my God, LRing a character and having to get them from level 1 to level 100 LR takes so many potions. And I'm going to probably try and play it safe and farm out more XP potions before this update drops, considering there's 2 LR characters. Yeah, they are increasing these. It doesn't look like it's a crazy big increase, so I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, but every little bit helps, of course. They're adding more team slots, so now you can have 15 team slots instead of just 10, which is kind of cool. And they're adding voice lines, apparently, to Percival whenever he cooks in-game. Here is the chart for all of the stat increases for the old school characters, and then here are the changes that they're doing to the Holy Relics as well, which I'm not going to go over. Like I said, they didn't get translated. I'm not that worried about them for now. But they're getting rid of Overlord Collab relics, by the way. They're extending the Come Out Mini Percival event, and the Apocalypse Rise special gotcha event period is also, I think, getting extended as well. So nothing too crazy there, but obviously some really good changes for just like an update. So there are a couple of big changes as well, really quickly, before we hop into the PvP here. One huge thing that they're doing is they released the dev notes. I'm not going to go over the whole thing because a lot of this is already in the patch notes. But this part right here, November Global Update Schedule Integration. Lastly, we would like to share an important schedule update change. Grand Cross launched globally about a year after the JPKR. We've been adjusting the update pace to narrow the gap between services. Global updates have been released for about a week after the JPKR updates. Looking back, narrowing the 1-year update gap to just 1 week wasn't easy. We believe this achievement was made possible not only due to our development team's efforts, but also by our Global Knights' dedication. However, we understand that the remaining 1-week gap still feels a bit long for those who wish to discuss and experience new content and heroes together in real time. Therefore, we are preparing for simultaneous updates across all regions regions for Grand Cross starting with the late November update. The update schedules for KR and JP and global services will be fully aligned with updates and maintenance happening simultaneously across all regions. Please note that this may result in some adjustments for the KR-JP maintenance schedule, and we would kindly ask for your understanding. From this point forward, all knights across all regions will be able to enjoy new characters and content on the same day. Please check out the November update notice for more details regarding the update schedule integration. So finally, after 5 years, we are getting simultaneous updates on global, which is crazy because I know there was a lot of content creators that swapped over to JP at one point because they wanted to be able to showcase characters, but you know, as soon as they came out, and I would have loved to have had this before I, you know, got a job. And had more free time to actually work on this kind of stuff, but they are syncing the games up finally, which is really, really cool to see. So obviously we won't have to wait super long, or like just, I mean, it's a week. It wasn't like that big of a deal to me, and I liked being able to see what the new stuff was before it came to global, so that way I didn't have to deal with some of it if I didn't want to. But obviously it's a really good thing to be able to get the content at the same time. So really quickly, we're already at the 20-minute mark on this thing, so let's watch a little bit of the PvP and we're going to call it a day. So the first teams that they end up using are, it's an unknown team with the new Milim, and they are using Rank Up Gother and Sabnak on the team, which is pretty interesting. Also a note, they're using the new Camilla in the back. They're not using Nanashi, so that's also kind of interesting. But they're running up against the current demon formation. They're not using Estarossa, which is fine, I guess. Like, this is what I fight most of the time anyway. Like, I do fight the Estarossa version from time to time. But you can see right here with the Milim stacks and everything, they used this skill, so it took away one of Milim's passive stacks. Like I said, her passive is way too long. I don't know it all just yet, but using the AoE right here, turn 1, and it deals additional damage, and it just kills... it just kills the Demiurge straight up. So that's pretty interesting. Obviously, Gelda hasn't had time to get any sort of HP or anything crazy yet, so I don't think, you know, her damage was fine. I think it almost killed her. She gained some back from the Tarmiel link, if I'm not mistaken, and it almost killed Melee, so that is pretty impressive. I'm probably going to skip through a little bit here, or well, I guess we'll just watch until this next turn, because I'm pretty sure they end up killing. And then they do one extra match where they put Rimuru on the team. I think it's instead of Gother, but I can't remember exactly. It's in this tab right here. But yeah, the amount of damage she did on that ultimate, or just the AoE is pretty nuts. Like, she has her increased attack related stats right now because of the I think it's Dragon's Rage, I think was what it was called. I can't remember, but yeah, man, she can do some really crazy damage. So she's targeting, I think she's using single targets this turn. So they're re-upping the taunt with Sabnak. No upgrade this turn, but single target against Melee. Level 1 did almost 300k. Level 2 against Gelda, 950. And I think that's the one that does increase damage against... I can't remember what part of her passive it was that does increased damage against increased HP, but I think that she's going to be pretty good against Geldas, so that's pretty interesting, I guess. Next up is the one, yeah, it literally just got rid of Gother, put on Demon Lord Rimuru. There he is with his new cosmetic. They're using the Infect card first, which now has Flood on it, and then they're putting the debuff card on with Sabnak, and then the AoE from Milim. So, put the Infect on. We put the debuffs on, which Gelda can't be debuffed, or she can't be infected. So not a whole lot of damage from the first two cards. Still ends up doing enough to kill Demiurge off. And then such good damage on that AoE card. Like, actually ridiculous. So I don't think there was anything else too crazy. I think they get some buffs here, and then Rimuru kind of saps them. He does not have his Pierce rate buff just yet. And then what do they use here? So single target against Melee with Milim into another Infect card, which has the Flood on it from Rimuru, and then the level 2 single target from Milim onto her. Does 1,000,000 damage. Okay, easy peasy. The only other thing that they showed off during the live stream was they did like an event sort of thing. I think it was like just like a challenge for the devs to fight the bird. I don't even, this is not this is not floor 4. I can't remember if this is phase 3 or not, but they fought the bird with, they have Megilda, Demon Lord Rimuru, Shion, and whatchamacallit, Camilla on the team. And I'm pretty sure they beat all 4 of the floors, or phases, so they just unlocked rewards for the whole community, if I'm not mistaken. So it was just like a little event thing that they wanted to do. But yeah, honestly, pretty huge update, pretty big stuff coming, really nice changes to the game in general getting added, or just new features, on top of exciting fact that we're getting a third time of the slime collab, so that opens up a lot of possibilities in the future for other collaborations and stuff, and then just good stuff all around, lots of free rewards and stuff. I think there's a total of 4 free multis that you get for the banner itself. Obviously the 2 new characters are cool, as well as buffs to the old characters, which is always really nice to see. So I'm gonna call it there. 25-minute video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully I went over everything. If I didn't and I missed something, feel free to leave it down in the comments below, but lots of cool stuff coming. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys later.